Well, hello everyone. So, like we said, my name is Matthew James Burdine, and I'm currently the lay leader here at Tibbetts. Um, and yeah, I wanted to let you know why I took on the responsibility of that role and wanted to participate more. So I'm going to start with a little bit about myself. I came to Tibbetts when I was 2.5 years old, and my family had just moved here from the Bay Area. My father's mother was coming to visit, and she wanted to attend church with us. And my parents, as well as myself to this day, are not morning people. And Tibbetts had the latest start time for a service, and that's how we came here. Um, so that was the start of my relationship with Tibbetts. And my dad did have deep family roots with the United Methodist Church. My mom was raised over at Hope Lutheran and attended a variety of denominations as an adult. So I often feel both new to the United Methodist Church and as though the UMC is in my blood. But yeah, growing up in this church, it filled me with wonderful memories. I attended Sunday school. I met some childhood friends that I still know to this day, Melissa, Carolyn down the road. And some of my favorite memories came from my time in youth group, starting as a junior youth. Our youth group leader from that time moved out of state, but he continues to participate as an online chat monitor and is still connected to this church. Also, some of my friends from the youth group continue to attend here, like Catherine, who's monitoring the chat today, Kelsey, Melissa, Daniel, Rachel Phelps, and more. So yeah, so far, I'm sure this sounds like a story of somebody who grew up in a church and just kept going to that church because that's what they know. However, I feel like my story is a little bit different. Because, let's see here, lost my spot. So throughout my life, I was exposed to different forms of Christianity, different denominations. For example, on a few occasions, with my grandfather, I attended Hope Lutheran, which is the church that he grew up in. I also went to Catholic high school where, we got religion classes all 4 years. Some of those were focused on world religions, but also a full year dedicated to studying the Catholic denomination. And then as an adult, I had an open mind, and through friends and different relationships, ended up at a handful of other churches as well. I attended Seventh-day Adventist. I went to Mars Hill a few times. And yeah, I think my time in high school in particular, where I was studying world religions and also the Catholic religion, really inspired me to take a look at, the UMC and the other denominations and sort of figure out what are all the differences between the church that I grew up in and the other churches that are around. And a lot of those differences feel sort of technical or dogmatic. But some of them were also quite impactful based on my experiences. For example, here in the UMC, we do communion in remembrance of Jesus. However, in the Catholic and Lutheran churches, it's a bit more complicated. And it requires Christians to do a few more steps before they're able to receive communion. And I experienced that firsthand, going with my grandfather and then going to Mass at high school. And so that's something that aligned with my personal beliefs here at the UMC, but I was also happy because it feels like our way of doing communion is more inviting and keeps us from a church from being a barrier to people's relationship with Jesus and God. Yeah. Even though they seem like just sort of ideas that are different, I feel like those ideas can have very different impacts on people. And I feel like we should always just be helping people connect with Jesus and preventing ourselves from standing in the way of that. And I could give more examples, but the point is that I went through a phase of questioning, studying, and openness where I actively considered other Christian communities. Spoiler alert, I chose them, UMC. And that's mainly because it aligned most closely with my personal beliefs. I do feel lucky that I chose the UMC because being able to continue to participate in the community that I grew up in and have such deep roots with, really does feel special. Just having like instant friendships after spending time away and coming back, as other friends spend time away and then come back. It's nice to have a physical place to come back to and have some of those shared memories. Another example is I came back to West Seattle from Yakima, and I immediately felt comfortable, but also started dating Rachel, who I'm lucky enough to now call my wife. And I wanted to highlight this because I know that visiting a community with such a long history can feel intimidating, or that your ideas may carry less weight over those who have been a part of this community for so long or from such a young age. But we've also had our own lives and our own spiritual journeys, and for one reason or another, we each chose this community in this church. And this church was here before any of us were born. So in reality, regardless of if you chose this community long ago, a year ago, a week ago, an hour ago, or even some time in the future, I consider you all to be my church family, and I believe that you matter to this community. While our community isn't perfect, I do believe that our community and what we have is something that folks would be lucky to find. In the last year or so, I've read and heard news articles in the Wall Street Journal and on KUOW about how more and more people in the U.S. are seeking a relationship with Jesus. And I believe that we should let them know that we have something pretty awesome here. I believe that it takes both outreach and directly letting people know about us, as well as investing in our youth, so that our community will hopefully continue to have members with deep connections between them that will provide a strong community for future seekers to find, but also that we are currently a good place for seekers of Jesus today who have children and want a community that all members of their family can connect with. And all in all, I hope this gives you all some insight into why I chose to participate more deeply in this community. And I want to, and why I give my time, my money, my thoughts, and ideas to this community. I want to do what I can to help us achieve our goals, and I want to ensure that we're continuing to seek out work to be done to continue to improve ourselves, our neighbors, and our world. I want to do what I can so that we might be a beacon for those looking, a good example for those who are curious, a home for both those settling down and those passing through, and welcoming to those who find us, and a family for those who choose us. Thanks so much.